Very sad day for the world of wrestling, for wrestling fans, for anyone that knew him. Bruno Sammartino has passed away at the age of 82. There is a reason why he was called a living legend and why he passed that moniker on to Larry Zbyszko, his protege, and I'll touch on that in a little bit. Because Bruno Sammartino truly was a living legend. It's hard to say that, but I mean, given what he went through, and I encourage everybody check out the Legends of JBL interview piece that Bruno did. He really can tell a whole bunch of stuff better than anybody can because he lived it. The stuff in World War II, overcoming all these tragedies and all these hardships with his family, seeing the hard work and the fire from his mother, and the health issues that Bruno overcame from an early age. He's able to come to America finally. He's able to live a life, get into weightlifting, become a professional wrestler, do well in Canada, do well in WWF, do well in other promotions. He was able to make his shots. He was able to become arguably the biggest star for about a decade. I mean, there were obviously other stars playing on territory, but Bruno, people knew who Bruno was, even though there wasn't the overlay of cable. And a lot, there was little syndication, but not much syndication television. A lot of people knew who Bruno was. They may have not known much about his feuds, but they knew the name Bruno Sammartino. And you think, it all started, like, the big push started in 1963 when he beat Nature Boy Buddy Rogers. And that was great stuff. That was great stuff. I mean, it's like, if you can find that footage, you would really enjoy it. Just because you see just Bruno, he quickly just wins the title. Now holds on to it for about 7 years. 7.5 years at that point. Might even been close to 8. I don't remember the exact dates. But great feuds, great matches. He really did capture the great spirit and the fighting spirit of Italian Americans, and that's why they loved him so much. In 1971, he lost to Ivan Koloff, kind of went into semi-retirement, left the company, territory, whatever you want to call it, wrestled a little bit here and there, but made his spots, but he had his injuries and stuff like that, as you're going to have in any line of work, an athletic line of work, you're going to have injuries. He also had been wrestling for so damn long and been the guy for so long, he probably wanted to take a break. Came back in 73, won the title again, was supposed to be a transitional champion of shorter length, which ended up being about 4 years. Faced up against Pedro Morales. Had the issue with Stan Hansen, where Stan Hansen accidentally broke Bruno's neck. I can't remember if it was in a cage or it was just a standard match that they had. But, Stan felt bad that he did that, obviously. If anybody's serious about the business, you would feel bad about that. And Bruno really didn't take enough time off as he should have. But at that time, if you take time off, you don't get paid. And there's debates about that and everything. But Bruno, hell of a star, hell of a tough guy. Him and Stan Hansen polished off their issue. Those are two legit tough guys. Really, I mean, like two of the toughest guys that have ever been in the wrestling ring. Stan, of course, just being the maniac that he is. I mean, respectful, but also the maniac that he is. And Bruno, great Italian-American babyface. They finished that off. Bruno, of course, did have the great feud with Larry Zbyszko, where they had a match at Shea Stadium in 1980. But the heel turn by Larry Zbyszko, because he was his protege, and Larry couldn't best him, and then beat him up and blade him with a wooden chair and stuff like that. Then that led to the Shea Stadium match, which was really, really good. That was about, I don't want to say that was the end of Bruno's career, but he did essentially take a backseat. He was doing more announcing, stuff like that. And he did make it into the WrestleMania era. He was actually there, I believe he was at ringside for his son David's match at WrestleMania 1. Bruno was part of WrestleMania 2, the NFL Battle Royal, the NFL WWE Battle Royal. And he also faced off against Randy Savage in a early 1987 match for the Intercontinental Championship. But after that, Bruno, I'm sure, wrestled a little bit more. I don't exactly remember how much he wrestled after that. But that was pretty much the end of it. He did leave WWE soon after that. He did show up as a special guest referee for the Halloween Havoc 1989, the Thunderdome match, or Thunder Cage match. I think it was Thunderdome. I think it was the Thunderdome match. But Bruno was outspoken about WWE, and I mean, I'm not going to mix words here. He was outspoken for his reasons, and I don't blame him. you know, drug use, steroid use, stuff like that. Took a long time for WWE and him to come to an agreement to put Bruno in his rightful place in WWE Hall of Fame. And thankfully they were able to. I believe that was 2013. And I was really, really happy to see Bruno go into the Hall of Fame. Because Bruno deserved it. For the legacy he left, for the great matches, for the great feuds, for being, from all accounts, what I've heard in interviews, and I mean, granted, I mean, it's just going on what they say, pretty good guy. And Bruno will be sorely missed. He, living legend for a reason. He was the legend, Bruno Sammartino, big old strength with that bear hug, and a lot of great stuff. Of course, then you can go back to when he lost the title. He lost in the second run, he lost the title to Superstar Billy Graham, which was really bizarre. But I mean, let do another thing, and I'll touch on that on another show. But this is about Bruno. And yes, it's a bit of a short tribute. But again, I wasn't really alive during a whole lot of Bruno's run. But I want to share a few memories just of what I remember about Bruno Sammartino. So he will be sorely missed. Lived a hell of a life. Survived so much stuff from an early age to be able to live this life and to become one of the great. If he's not on the Mount Rushmore of wrestling, then we could have a debate on that, because he should be. Okay, I mean, he was very much for his time, but still, the name Bruno Sammartino resonates even today. People young and old still respect him. And with reason, because he earned it. That's what Bruno Sammartino did. He was about respect, he earned it, and he was a great champion. 11 to 12 years as champion. That's saying something. And the great feuds he had, great matches, and the way he commanded the attention of a crowd. Almost second to none. Probably is second to none, especially for the Italian-American market. But I want you to leave in the comments your favorite Bruno Sammartino moments. I encourage everybody that if you're a big wrestling fan, study up on Bruno. If this has affected you, make your own YouTube video. Make a video for Twitter. Let everybody know that the memory of Bruno Sammartino will live on. Because man lived a hell of a life. Survived so much. Had a hell of a career. Was able to do things his way, and through any hardships, he managed to live to the age of 82. Lived a hell of a life. So folks, rest in peace, Bruno Sammartino.